What's up, people? This is your boy Lou. You know what it is, Wrestling Tube 101. Coming back at you another video. This video right here, I'm making this video because I really want to talk about indie wrestling. But I'm afraid that if I talk about indie wrestling, like if I review a show or talk about why I like it and things of that nature, I'm afraid that I'm either going to get a couple of people, and not a lot, because I don't see a lot of indie wrestling fans on YouTube. Like, I'm subscribed to Truth Slayer and a couple other guys, but I really don't see that many indie wrestling fans on YouTube. So I'm afraid either I'm going to get very few views or I'm going to get a ton of views criticizing me. So I'll put this video out right now because this is a pretty big topic in the YWC, because a lot of people like to label what a wrestling fan is. So I think this would be a good way just to get my feet in the water, go in a different direction. So this video right here is exactly what I want to talk about, and does it really matter what kind of wrestling you like? Alright. I like indie wrestling. Alright. There's no problem with that. I love mainstream wrestling. There's no problem with that. Okay. I like wrestling in general. Okay. To me, when I see a mainstream wrestling show and when I watch an indie show, I see two completely different things, alright? They're booked differently, they're written differently, alright? But at the end of the day, it's still wrestling, alright? Now, I look at a mainstream show, alright, and compare the mainstream wrestling fan to an indie wrestling fan. Now, I want to talk about why first a mainstream wrestling fan wouldn't watch an indie show. Now, I'm not saying that these are the reasons that everybody wouldn't watch an indie show, but the first time I watched an indie show, it took me a second to really get into it because I had to get around the fact that there wasn't a lot of fancy technological stuff going on. So this is a list of things that I would say why your average mainstream wrestling fan will not watch an indie show, or has watched it and doesn't like it. Number one, the venue. Now, to me personally, it doesn't matter if it's in Madison Square Garden or it's in the cafeteria of my high school, or the high school I went to. I'm almost 28 years old. I'm way past high school and college. The lighting, the great sound that WWE has, the giant crowd, all right, all the pyro, the big Titantrons, all the can pop and the can heat, the like 20 different camera angles that they have, the huge opera style stories that build up to these matches. Indie wrestling doesn't really have any of that. When you watch an indie show, there is no special lighting. The venue might be the size of a school cafeteria. The crowds are small. There's no Titantrons really. There's really no can pop or heat. There might be 2 camera angles if you're lucky. And the matches tell more of the story than the storylines. So I can see where, without having all that to dress up the show, a mainstream wrestling fan wouldn't like it. But regardless, to me, if you take all that stuff away, all that fancy stuff, all that technological crap, it's still a wrestling show. And mainstream wrestling fans can't bash indie wrestling fans. They can't, for not liking mainstream wrestling. All that stuff and whatever else a mainstream wrestling fan could think of that happens on a WWE or a TNA programming, unless it's wrestling, it really doesn't matter. Because everything else that you could do on a show, okay, you could have a show where the whole entire wrestling show is something but rock bands playing, but then at the end of the whole thing is a wrestling match. You still had a wrestling match on the show, so guess what? It's still a wrestling show. May have not been that great of a wrestling show. Maybe the one match was, who knows? But it was still a wrestling show. Alright? Vice versa for indie wrestling fans. Indie wrestling fans cannot bash mainstream wrestling fans for liking what they like. Now, in my opinion, personally, I think that the mainstream media is watered down too much with WWE. But WWE is a conglomerate and it's huge. All the promotion they do and all that stuff. That's why their company is so big. Alright? And I don't blame indie wrestling getting lost there because there is no publicity for indie wrestling. And just because mainstream wrestling fans may have never heard of indie wrestling, or they just choose not to watch it, or they've watched it and for whatever reason they didn't like it, that's fine. You indie wrestling fans that say that they're not wrestling fans, or it's not right that they don't watch it or they have to watch it. No, they don't. They don't have to watch it. If you mainstream wrestling fans strictly just like mainstream wrestling, great. That means that you love the in-depth storylines and you love following with the characters and and getting into them, and and you love the huge crowd and whatever draws you to it. That's fine. You indie wrestling fans have to deal with that. Okay? Now, I love both. Like I said, I love mainstream and indie wrestling. So I'll give my fair share of bashing and thrashing and loving for both. And the fans that love indie wrestling should just stick to bashing and loving indie wrestling, and mainstream wrestling fans should just stick to loving and bashing mainstream wrestling. There's no point in arguing about having an indie wrestling fan watching a mainstream show when they don't want to, or a mainstream fan that doesn't watch indie wrestling to watch an indie wrestling show if they don't want to. There's no point in trying to argue the fact of making somebody do either. And there's no point in telling someone that if they don't like a certain somebody or a certain promotion, they're not a wrestling fan. Look, if your favorite wrestler in the world is John Cena, which I would think personally you're a complete idiot to think so, you can think that. That's fine. He's a great entertainer. He really is. An overall entertainer, he's awesome. But if you really think he's the best wrestler in the world and he's the greatest person and he's your favorite guy in wrestling, fine. If your favorite guy in wrestling is AJ Styles in TNA and you think AJ Styles is so great, he's so fucking awesome, he is fucking awesome. Great. You know what? He's also a good entertainer. That's fine. You can think that. If an indie wrestling fan wants to think that BB Hulk, and you mainstream wrestlers aren't going to know who that is probably, but that's fine. I don't blame you because you don't watch it, so that's fine. If your favorite wrestler is BB Hulk, or Akira Tozawa, or Austin Aries, granted he was just on TNA last week, but whatever, Dragon Kid, whatever, it doesn't matter. My point is that you can like whatever wrestler you like, and it doesn't matter if that's your favorite wrestler or your favorite promotion. If it is, that still makes you a wrestling fan because that's a wrestling promotion. You're not watching freaking Friends or something on TV or on DVD that you order or iPay-per-view or whatever. It's a wrestling show. Whether it be a WWE program that a mainstream fan wrestling fan is watching, or a TNA program that a mainstream wrestling fan is watching, or an indie program that an indie fan is watching, all right? If you like WWE, you're a fan of wrestling. If you like TNA, you're a fan of wrestling. If you like PWG, you're a fan of wrestling. If you like Chikara, you're a fan of wrestling. If you like ROH, you're a fan of wrestling. If you like Evolve, you're a fan of wrestling. If you like Pro Wrestling Noah, you're a fan of wrestling. I don't know if I said Dragon Gate already. You're a fan of wrestling. I'm just saying a bunch of names because there's so many promotions out there in terms of wrestling, whether it be even All Japan or New Japan or AAA down in Mexico. If you like that stuff, you're a wrestling fan. I love all that stuff. I'm a wrestling fan. If you only like John Cena and you only watch WWE to see John Cena, you're still a wrestling fan. If you watch TNA just to see AJ Styles, you're a wrestling fan. If all I did, and the only wrestler that I watched or whatever in the whole indie circuit was my man BB Hulk, then guess what? I'm still a wrestling fan. So I think it's so stupid that people will argue what a wrestling fan is when it's really truly irrelevant. What's the difference in what somebody likes and what they don't like? What's the difference in making them a wrestling fan or not a wrestling fan? How does that change that? Some people still get in the ring. They grapple, they do submissions and holds, and they do suplexes and shit. That's a wrestling match. Alright, that's basically all I wanted to say. I'm not sure if I came off right or not. I hope I did. I hope I didn't offend anybody, because I'm not trying to offend anybody. Because like I said, I like all wrestling. I don't care where the hell it's performed. I don't care who's wrestling. I'll watch it. All right, it doesn't matter. I'll watch John Cena. Okay, I'll watch Randy Orton. I'll watch AJ Styles. Okay, it doesn't fucking matter. I'll watch Yamamoto. Yamamoto is the Open the Freedom Gate champion in Drag Gate USA right now. I'll watch him if I want to watch him. Okay, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what anybody else wants to watch. I hope everyone agrees. If you disagree and you think that if you don't watch any wrestling, you're not a wrestling fan, or if you think that if you don't like a certain guy in mainstream wrestling, or if you don't watch WWE at all, you're not a wrestling fan. If you really think that stuff, then please make a video response. It's wide open for you. Leave a comment telling me why you think that. If you agree, tell me that you agree. And regardless, if you agreed or disagreed, but you were just entertained by what I said and everything I said in this video, press the subscribe button. You know, keep paying attention to what I'm saying. I like to talk about controversial things. You know, I'm not trying to create no drama with nobody. I'm just having fun, you know. I don't want anyone to take me as I'm a complete jerk and I'm a jerk off and a hypocrite and I'm a fucking complete dumbass and I'm hypocritical and whatever. I'm just having fun, you know, and I'm just trying to get people to notice me. I'm not going to talk about anybody individually, and I'm not on YouTube, and I'm not going to bash a certain, you know, certain people's for liking what they like, or what this guy likes that, this guy likes that. It doesn't matter, okay? It really doesn't. I just want people to talk to me. And I'm starting to get more views. I'm averaging like 30 views a video right now. This will be my 28th video that I put up. People, I hope everybody watches this. I hope y'all enjoy it. This is Wrestling 2 101. You know what it is. I'll be back at you with another video. I'll probably make another one today. Who knows? But I won't put it up today. I'll probably wait a little while. You know what it is, people. It's your boy. Holla back at you. You know what it is. Peace.